Alright guys, working on a 82 Rabbit diesel today, VW. Changing the water pump, but it turned into quite a project. The old water pump seal went out in it and it got into the bearing, started turning hard, and it was leaking, drained all the coolant out of the system. But it bolts on the side of that housing there, but that housing sits in here like that, and there's several bolts behind this pulley, and just the way it sits in there, you can't, unless you take this pulley off, you can't get, for the timing belt, you can't pull the water pump out, but you can't pull the pulley off unless the engine's out of there, because you can't get a puller in right here to pull it off, and there's really no way to hook onto it, and you don't want to pry too hard because that's just an aluminum pulley. So to tell you to do in the service manual, you take the air conditioner off, take the belts off, the air conditioner off, you got to take the cover off, take the timing belt off, then you got to take the injection pump off to get to, there's two bolts, or the bolt there and a bolt here that sit up, or it bolts up to the block, and you can't get to those until you take the injection pump off because they're behind the injection pump. I was able to get that bolt off once I took the gear off the injection pump, or the sprocket, but couldn't get it off, or couldn't get the other one out unless the injection pump is off there. Luckily these ain't too bad to get off. They're pretty easy really. And getting that pulley for the timing belt off, kind of hard. Don't want to pry on it too hard because it wouldn't take much to break that, but I'd called a company in Michigan who I get a lot of parts from, and I got the water pump from them, and they said, the guy said he used to work on them a lot before he became their parts guy, and you just take screwdrivers and put it on each side and just try to pry it off. So I did that a little, got some pressure on it, and then I actually took Mom's blow dryer because I didn't want to get it too hot and hurt this seal. But I let that blow dryer sit on it for about 10 or 15 minutes and heat this sprocket up, and then I got it. I did get it popped off of there, so because I got some special puller, because again you can't get something real big into here because it sits about right there. Got a special puller that goes on there, and it goes into these two holes and somehow fastens in. But they're not threaded or anything, so a little bit of a problem there. But I would have done a video, or I wasn't going to do a video on it, that's why I don't have one taking it apart, but I figured it turned out into more of a project than I thought. So if anyone else is working on these, I figured I'd or wanting to do one. There's still a fair amount of these little cars out on the road because they'll get mid-40s for mileage. Get about, I drove one of these before. I don't know if you've ever seen a camo one sitting around here in any of my videos. I drove it before I got that Jetta. But that's what we're doing. So I'm going to clean it up and put the water pump back on, and then bolt the housing back on. And another thing, this housing goes right here as an O-ring and goes in this groove here. I'll put a little silicone on that also, and then put it up instead of just the O-ring. The old cast housing that get any pitted in them whatsoever, the O-ring doesn't seal up very well, so that's what I'm going to do. There. Don't want to go too crazy on this aluminum because it'll eat it away pretty quick. Just take the old gasket paper material off. enough so I can get some new silicone to stick with the new gasket. I think that looks alright. Those of you who don't know, that's just a Scotch-Brite pad they make for these die grinders. It's freaking cold. I had -2 this morning. Sucked. Excuse my royal mess here. I've never had a gasket leak. These paper gaskets, they will leak every now and then if you don't have a perfect surface you're putting them against. But put a little silicone on them and I've never had one leak. Bent and shipping a little bit. Should have had that thing laying out. Smash it flat. Alright. Oh, I just go along here and just put the slightest little bead of silicone. This silicone, I've said it before, but those Scotch-Brite pads, you use them and get the surface prepared right. It sticks well enough and seals well enough. It'll actually, you gotta let it dry a day or two, and it probably needs a couple days to get completely cured. But you let it dry a day or two and go put it back together, or try to, if you happen to try to take it apart again, it'll actually pull the gasket in half. It'll split the gasket right in the middle, and it'll, I mean, obviously it ruins the gasket, but that's how well it sticks, and it helps kind of hold stuff together. Great stuff, that RTV. Should have had this gasket laying out between two books or something to kind of mash it back flat, but I didn't. Just mainly been working in the shop here. Had an international bus I was working on for a neighbor. Still haven't got that. It won't start. Got the 7.3 Power Stroke in it, but they call it the 444 or T444I or something like that, the international version. But anyway, it's got some major electrical problem. Been working on that in his shop. He's just 2 miles away. He stopped by and said they had another guy try it. He couldn't figure it out, so they figured I'd let me have a shot at it, and I haven't figured it out yet. So I'm leaning towards the ECM is bad on it. Or it's something stupid like that four-wheel drive problem on my pickup. Come on, get in there. No. Got a bolt hole for that. Hole on that. Anyway, move down to this one. That's crazy. But see, because that piece had that part, it needed to come out about that far, but it only had about that much room in between that pulley and the housing there. That's why I couldn't just take the pump off and slide it out the bottom. And if I had a do-over, I don't know, I'd think about it and do a little more research, but it might have almost been better just to break that aluminum pulley and buy another one and put the pump on while this piece, because this is a lot of work to get this whole thing dug out of here. But we made it. That pulley, I don't think, spent about $20. If the time I spent messing with it, but I didn't know ahead of time. Get all that tightened up, and I'll get that put back up in there, and I'll come back to you. Alrighty, got the pump on. Need to put the engine, put the pump sprocket on, and time the engine. Then a little key, half moon key, goes right there in the pump shaft. And then the gear, or the sprocket goes on. Then that's a timing pin. I'll mess that here in a minute. Washer, nut, torque that thing to 33 foot-pounds. That's wrong. Get my yours straight here. It's 33 is right. Yeah, 33 foot-pounds. And that is a 19 millimeter. Well, maybe I'll tighten it up today. Nope. Well, 3/4 will work. 3/4 is the same thing as 19 millimeter. I'll look for it later. Oh, it's on the impact over there. Use the impact, take it off. Let's see. Trying to hold stuff like this can be a real joke sometimes. There we go, 33. Now, to time this, there is a hole in this steel plate that the pump hooks to, and this pin slip in it. not exact, but if you hold the pin just straight like that, and I was careful not to bump the camshaft sprocket, because I rolled it up on top dead center and locked that in with the pin there. And some of these have a plate in here. I could take the oil fill cap off there and look down on the valves and valve overlap, tell whether it was on TDC number 1 or number 4. So I got it on number 1, put that in, I just didn't bump the sprocket. And then crap, it came off down on the engine too, or crankshaft. Alright, got the timing belt on, finally got it wrestled on there. Rolled it over by hand, make sure it was timed, the valves weren't going to hit or anything. But this little fancy wrench here goes on this eccentric back here, and you tighten it up. And I got it to where it's about a 1/4 inch up and 1/4 inch down. I always just measure it before I take it off, because I got a fancy tool for setting that. But I always just measure it before I take it off, so I know what to put it back to. I haven't spent the money on the fancy tool, but I gotta bleed it out now. I got the lines back on, and I'm just gonna try to start it right here as it sits, that way just to make sure the timing and the pump is all set right, and then I'll go ahead and put the rest of the stuff back on. Alright, got it running, everything seems to be alright, so I'm going to bolt everything back together, up the wires up and whatnot. Smoked it up in here pretty good. This car does put out a lot of smoke till it warms up. But everything's pretty self-explanatory, but so come back to you once I get it going. Alright, got it all put back together here. It's slick out. It had ice about a week ago and it just hadn't melted off. Been too freaking cold. Take her out for a spin here though. It's coming up on the temperature gauge. That's always a good thing. This one's one of the more rare. This is a really nice car, no rust or anything, especially for being an 82. But it's got a 5-speed in it, which is a little more on the rare side for these cars. I have to just get out on the hard road a little quicker. If you aren't in a hurry, these are great little cars. Other than that water pump, that's about the hardest thing I've ever had to work on one of these. I can get the engine and transaxle out in about 3 hours. That camo one I had, I put a clutch in it one time. It's kind of funny on these, normally take the engine stuff out the top, but I suppose on most transaxle cars it's the same way. But this little one, these you actually take them out the bottom. You unbolt them and jack the front of the car up and drop them out the bottom and slide them out. That's the problem around here, though. A lot of these little cars are rusted out, and kind of a shame. Stop and check, make sure there aren't any leaks yet. Alright, so far, coolant tank's still full, so it's a good thing. Not dripping anywhere. I haven't opened the thermostat yet, though. If that would make a difference. Get it out on the highway, get it up to speed. Things are only 52 horse. 79 and 80 model years were like 89 cubic inch engines at 48 horse, and then they come out in 81 with a 96 cubic inch engine, I think. Yeah, and it was got it up 52 horsepower. And then in 83 and 84 they made, it was an option, I've never seen one. I think you could get it in a Rabbit. They had a turbo, or the 1.6 liter, or 1.5 and then the 1.6, and they had a turbo 1.6 liter, which I'd like to find. That'd be, and those got up 68 horsepower, which in only an 1,800 pound car, you'd still be doing something in that. I've always wanted to take one of these little Rabbits and put a TDI engine in it like my Jetta has. That one's like 95 horse or 92 horsepower or something. Bigger cubic inch too, and it could really scoot down the road then. Well, I'll take her down the road here and see, I mean, they do get some power. They do get right with it. I mean, for no more than they are. And there's fifth gear. Doing good on the temperature gauge so far. Well, it looks like it's going to be alright, so thanks for watching, and hope this helps someone out if you're wanting to do one of these.